Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. This is a session of the Spokane Public Schools Keep Learning series for literacy. Today's lesson is for fourth grade students, but any child is welcome to participate. My name is Jennifer Carnahan, and I am an instructional coach at Whitman Elementary School in Spokane Public Schools, and I will be your teacher today. I'm so glad that you chose to participate with us. If you didn't see our previous lessons on KSPS, you can find them on the KSPS website. You can still tune into today's lesson, even if you haven't seen any of our previous lessons. Today, we will be learning to use a graphic organizer to take notes based on the same text that we used earlier this week. And then we will use the notes in the graphic organizer to help us to write a summary at the end of this lesson. For today's lesson, you will need a piece of notebook paper, a writing tool, and if you do have the notes from the previous lesson, those would be very helpful as well. If you want to take a minute and go gather your supplies, I'll give you a few moments. All right, let's get started. Today we are going to revisit the text, The Right Dog for the Job. Remember, this text was written by Dorothy Hinshaw Patent, and the photographs were taken by William Munoz. In the last session, we noticed the sequence, or order, in which the events were organized. Today, we will also talk about transition words and main idea. At the end of today's lesson, you will write a summary paragraph of this text. Before we start the text, I just want to remind you of our purpose for reading. We have a guiding question. In what order does Ira learn new skills? If we continue to keep this question in mind, it will help us with our graphic organizer and with our summary at the end of the text. Ira was born on Shy Bear Farm in Montana, along with his sister Ivy and his brother Ike. Like all newborn puppies, the three young golden retrievers have closed eyes, velvety ears, and very soft fur. But unlike most puppies, these three were born for a special purpose. By the time they are 2 years old, each is expected to have become a service dog, helping a person who has difficulty moving around on his or her own to lead a fuller life. Ira, Ivy, and Ike are part of Possibilities, canine partners for people with disabilities. Bria, the puppy's mother, and Kathleen Decker, Possibilities foster puppy coordinator, take good care of the puppies. They grow bigger and stronger. Their eyes and ears open so they can take in the world around them. Soon they are romping and playing together, getting bolder each day. Kathleen begins to feed them puppy food when they are 4 weeks old. By the age of 6 weeks, they no longer need their mother's milk. Soon it will be time to leave home. Before they can help people with disabilities, service dogs need to learn to deal confidently with the world and whatever it might present to them. Loud noises, smelly buses, crowds of people. Each puppy goes to live with a special person called a foster puppy raiser. The puppy becomes a member of the family, where it gets plenty of love, attention, and praise as the puppy raiser introduces it to the world. When they are about 8 weeks old, Ira, Ivy, and Ike meet their puppy raisers. Ira goes home with Sandy Welch, a 6th grade teacher in Lola, Montana. Sandy already has her own beautiful golden retriever, Lady Grizz. Lady and Ira quickly become friends. Kathleen visits Ira and Sandy a month later. She wants to see how Ira is doing and check on his service dog skills. One of the most important tasks a service dog performs is retrieving things such as dropped keys. Sandy has already been working on this skill with Ira, so Kathleen throws her keys and tells Ira to fetch them. He runs over, picks them up in his mouth, and brings them back to Kathleen. Good news, Ira is already on his way to becoming a service dog. If you'll notice, there is a piece of text evidence in this paragraph that helps us to support the conclusion that Ira's first skill that he's learned is to retrieve keys. We're going to use this, or we did use this in the previous lesson, but if you're just getting caught up, you can write it down today in our graphic organizer where we're listing out the sequence of events in order. I wrote down Ira goes to his puppy raiser Sandy and learns to fetch keys. All along, the puppy raisers meet as a group to learn how to teach the young dogs what they need to know. The puppies have to learn how to come or to sit on command and how to walk at heel on a leash. Kathleen also shows them how to teach the puppies to press a wheelchair access sign with their paw. The symbol appears on buttons that open doors automatically when pressed. Kathleen uses a plastic lid attached to a stick with a strip of cloth. On the lid is the wheelchair access sign. She puts a dog treat on the deck and covers it with the lid. One by one, the puppies sniff and push the lid with their noses, trying to get at the treat. But only when they scratch at it with a foot does Kathleen lift the stick so the puppy is rewarded. We also have text evidence in these paragraphs that show us some more skills that Ira has learned. He's learned to come or sit on command and how to walk at heel on a leash, how to press a wheelchair access sign with his paw. Both of these I have added to my sequence of events graphic organizer. Next, the group goes to the bus station. The bus company loans Possibilities a bus and driver. The puppies practice getting on and off over and over again. They ride around town and learn to stay calm on the bus as it stops and starts. By the end of the day, riding the bus has become as natural as a trip in the car. The puppy raisers take the dogs wherever they can, such as to sporting events and the farmer's market. Every 2 weeks, the group meets at a different place somewhere in town. At the mall, the puppies learn not to be distracted at the pet store or by the crowds of people walking by. They also practice pushing the button with the wheelchair sign to open the door. At the university, they learn how to pull open a door using a tug made of rope tied to the knob. At the library, they learn to lie quietly under the table while the puppy raisers look through books. They also learn how to enter the elevator correctly, walking right beside the puppy raiser instead of going in front or behind. It would be dangerous if the elevator door closed on the leash. Were you able to identify text evidence for new skills that Ira is learning on this page? I hope so. It does describe that he learns to stay calm on the bus, not to be distracted at the pet store or by the crowds of people walking by, and how to pull open a door using a tug made of rope tied to the knob. We can also add these to our sequence of events graphic organizer. Sandy brings Ira to her classroom 2 days a week. She explains to her students the importance of training Ira correctly. Ira needs to learn to lie down by himself and stay there, even if he gets bored, she says. You have to leave him alone, even if he wants to be petted, so he doesn't get distracted from his job. You can also help teach the other children not to pet a service dog in training. Ira has his own corner of the room where he must lie quietly on his rug. If he gets up and wanders around, Sandy says in a firm voice, "Rug." Then she tells Ira to sit, lie down, or stay. He must also learn to always stay close to the person he is helping. When Sandy and the students work with Ira, they form a circle and bring Ira into the center. Then one of the children calls him. He knows he'll get a treat if he lays his head in the child's lap. The children take turns calling him, helping him learn to come reliably every time he is called. Then they help teach him to use his nose to push a light switch, another important job for a service dog to learn. I'm sure you probably noticed there are more skills that Ira has learned on this page. Here is text evidence to show that Ira is learning to be reliable when he is called. And we also have text evidence that shows that he is learning to push a light switch. Ira goes all over the school, so he gets used to noisy places like the cafeteria and the gym during pep rallies. Sandy also takes him to other classrooms and tells the other students about service dogs. As summer approaches, Sandy's students must say goodbye to Ira. Each child gets a chance to say what having Ira in the classroom meant to him or her. To reward the children for their help, Sandy arranges a field trip to Shy Bear Farm. The students take turns making dog toys, working on scrapbooks for Ira's new companion, touring the farm, and playing with the 6-week-old puppies. They also get to say one last goodbye to Ira. As summer starts, it's time for Ira to leave Sandy and go for more detailed service dog training. But his assigned training facility isn't ready yet. Glenn Martin, director of Possibilities, can't find another service dog group that can use Ira. Everyone worries. What will happen? Can Ira learn a new career? Though they rarely take dogs raised and trained elsewhere, Guide Dogs for the Blind in San Rafael, California steps in. Ira has lots of confidence, which is very important in a guide dog, so we'll give Ira a chance, says their coordinator, but we'll have to change his name. Each dog we train has a different name, and we already have one called Ira. We'll just change the spelling to I-R-A-H, so he won't have to learn a new name. Now Ira needs to learn a whole new set of skills, which takes 4 to 5 months. He has to get used to wearing a guide dog harness. Trainer Stacy Burrow helps him learn many things, such as stopping at street corners and crossing only when the way is clear. The most important thing a guide dog must learn is intelligent disobedience. Knowing when to disobey can enable a guide dog to save its owner's life. For example, if the blind person tells the dog to go forward when a car is running a red light, the dog must refuse to obey. Ira is smart. He passes the program with flying colors. After training, Ira is paired with Don Simonson, a piano tuner who had already retired 2 guide dogs after they got too old to work. Ira and Don worked together for 3 weeks in San Rafael, learning to be a team. Then it's time to graduate. Sandy comes from Montana for the graduation. She gets to see Ira and meet Don before the ceremony. Ira and Sandy are delighted to be together again, but Ira clearly knows his place is now with Don. During the graduation ceremony, Don's name is announced when his turn comes. Sandy hands Ira over to Don. Ira is Don's dog now, and the two will be loving, giving partners. Sandy will miss Ira, but she is happy that he has found a home with someone like Don. At home in Kennewick, Washington, Don and Ira continue to learn to work together. Grayson, Don's retired guide dog, also lives with them. Grayson and Ira become fast friends, playing together just like Ira and Lady did. When Don goes to work, Ira guides him. Once they enter the room with the piano, Don says, "Ira, find the piano," and Ira leads him to it. Then Don gets to work and Ira lies down nearby waiting patiently as he learned to do in Sandy's classroom. He is there for Don whenever he is needed. "I'm so glad Ira and I found each other," Don says. "He's just the right dog for me." Sandy and Don become friends, and as a surprise, Sandy invites Don to the 8th grade graduation of the children who helped train Ira. Don's wife, Robbie, drives their motorhome to Montana for the graduation. After Sandy talks to the audience about Ira and Don, she shows a movie of their graduation from Guide Dogs for the Blind. Then she announces that Don and Ira are in the auditorium, and Joey, Ira's favorite student, escorts them to the stage. The surprised students are delighted to see the results of their hard work and the hard work of so many others. Their own canine student, Ira, is now a working guide dog. All right. Now that we are done with our second read and we have reviewed many of the important details that will help us write about the order that Ira learned new skills, let's review our notes. First, Ira goes to his puppy trainer Kathleen and learns to fetch keys. Next, Ira learns to sit and come, walk on heel on a leash, and press a wheelchair access sign with his paw. After that, Ira learns to stay calm on the bus and in crowded areas. He also learns to open a door using a tug. In the end, Ira learns to be reliable when he is called, and he learns to use a light switch to turn on the lights. Did you hear the transition words that I used? Which ones did you hear? Yes, that's right. I used first, next, after that, in the end. Remember earlier we talked about transition words? First, next, after that, and in the end are transitions that help a reader understand the order that things happened in a text. We call the order that things happen sequence of events. Let's take a minute to review the main idea of a text. Let's use the metaphor of a hamburger to make sure you understand the concept of main idea before we move on. The main idea of a text wraps up all the details into a single idea, just like the bun on a hamburger wraps up all the parts of a hamburger into one. The bun is like the main idea, and the details are like all the fixings that are inside the hamburger. The details must go with the main idea. A detail about Ira eating dog food would not go with the main idea that Ira is learning to be a service dog, just like a garden hose would not go inside the bun of a hamburger. Our reading response today is to write a summary paragraph. This will be a modeled write, so you will have a model of what a text summary looks like. On your notebook paper, follow along and write as I write. I am going to write the topic sentence. The text called "The Right Dog for the Job" is mostly about a dog named Ira that is learning to be a service dog. This is the topic sentence because it names the text and describes the main idea of the text. My second sentence will begin with the transition word first. This sentence describes the first skill that Ira learned. I wrote, Ira goes to his puppy raiser, Sandy, and learns to fetch keys. For the next detailed sentence, I will use the transition word next, and I will add the ideas from the second box of my sequence of events notes. I will write, next, Ira learns to sit and come, walk on heel on a leash, and press a wheelchair access sign with his paw. Our next sentence will begin with the transition after that. Using the notes from my third box, I will write, after that, Ira learns to stay calm on the bus and in crowded areas. He also learns to open a door using a tug. Our last detailed sentence will describe the skills Ira gained at the end of his training. We will begin this sentence with the transition words in the end. I will write, in the end, Ira learns to be reliable when he is called, and he learns to use a light switch to turn on the lights. For our final concluding sentence, we will remind our audience of the main idea of the text, but we will write it in just a little bit different way than our topic sentence. For this sentence, I am going to use a sentence starter. The sentence starter that I will use is, all of these details come together to show. The sentence looks like this. All of these details come together to show how Ira learned to be a service dog. Wow, great job. You have a well-written summary. Maybe this week you can try summarizing another book you are reading on your own. Don't forget to check in with your teacher to share the great work that you are doing. See you next time.